What's good, peeps? Thanks always for passing by the channel. Much appreciated. Hit that subscribe button if you guys are new. Don't forget as well, please, to like and share the vids. Again, thanks to everyone that continues to do that. You can also support the channel as well. I do have a Patreon account. The link is in the description. All right, let's continue our What Next series, and let's go to the welterweight division and discuss what next, or what possibly next, for Keith one-time Thurman, former unified champ at 147, had the WBC and WBA belts. Keith Thurman has fought 4 times in 4 years. Once in 2016, that was against Sean, I believe. 2017, Danny Garcia. Nothing in 2018. 2019, Josecito Lopez and Manny Pacquiao. So 2019, 2 fights, was actually a busy year for Keith Thurman. He's not fought twice, apart from this year, since 2015. And I think the last time he fought 3 times in a year was 2013 or maybe 2012. So he's not an active fighter, is he, really? Before we talk about 2020, let's have a look at 2019. Obviously, came back from that really long layoff. I think he was out the ring for something like 16 or 18 months against Josecito Lopez. It wasn't the best performance, but again, he was out the ring for so long. Didn't look sharp, didn't look powerful really, but got the W. It was a majority decision, then obviously moved on to the mega fight against Manny Pacquiao. That was a good fight. You know, like a lot of people, including myself, have been doing their kind of best fights of 2019, and no one ever mentions that fight. Maybe it wasn't as good as those ones, obviously, but it was a good fight nonetheless. I thought it was a competitive fight. Obviously, Pac-Man got the W, and Keith Thurman immediately asked for the rematch. He's not going to get the rematch. You can understand why he's asking for the rematch. It must have been a career-high payday by a stretch, but his name's not been mentioned at all. The names that we're hearing are Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, or Mikey Garcia, so it's coming out of those 3. So what next for Keith Thurman in 2020? I'll say this off the bat. I wouldn't be overly shocked if Keith Thurman calls it quits. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I remember when he was out in 2018, yes, there was injuries, but I think he also fell out of love with the sport as well. I think he mentioned it a few times in some interviews. He's been a world champion, unified world champion. He's made some good money, especially with the last Pacquiao fight. He was, I think hardcore fans at least, at a time when he beat Danny, said he was the best welterweight in the world. So he's been the number 1 147-pounder. I think he might just think, you know what, I've done everything I could do. He might. The issue he has is once you get to that, I don't know, that top table where you're earning good money, which he did against Manny Pacquiao, you want that all the time. Why would you want to come down? Why would you want to earn, I don't know, what did he earn, about 10 million against Pac-Man? Why do you want to do that and then come back down and then start fighting for 1.52 million? He might have to, but that's a difficult thing to do. So you look at who's out there as possible pay-per-view fights, and that's what he wants to be, a pay-per-view fighter. And he's already fought Sean, and I think Sean's got other things he wants to do right now. Danny Garcia, that's no longer a pay-per-view fight. It isn't. Danny's stock's dropped. Manny Pacquiao, we know, isn't going to fight him again. So there's only 2 guys out there. There's 2 guys in the division that you could say are pay-per-view fights. Errol Spence, but Errol Spence really could sit out the whole of 2020. He could. And even if he doesn't sit out the whole of 2020, Errol Spence ain't going to fight again until August. And it's not going to be Keith Thurman. Plus, let's be honest here, Keith Thurman fans, Keith Thurman has ducked that fight. He's ducked that fight for as long as possible. So I don't think he wants Errol Spence. The next name is Terence Crawford. I don't think he wants that fight as well. I don't think he wants it. I don't think he necessarily cares too much about that belt. I don't think he will move over, even if it's just for 1 fight, to Top Rank and fight Terence Crawford. It's the fight I want to happen next, if I'm honest with you. I mean, I might do a what next for Terence Crawford, and it would be Keith Thurman. And for Keith Thurman, it should be Terence Crawford. I mean, for Keith Thurman, it's a chance of winning the world title. A lot of people have Terence Crawford either number 1 or number 2 in the welterweight division, so it's a big fight, right? So I think it's a fight that makes sense, but I don't think Keith Thurman wants it. Again, I'm just going on interviews, listening to what Keith Thurman says, and every time you mention Terence Crawford or Errol Spence, doesn't seem to really want those fights. So who's out there for him? Again, I just mentioned Danny, I've mentioned Pac-Man, I've mentioned Sean. We've mentioned these two. That's it really, right? In terms of big fights at 147, that's it. I mean, he's not going to fight an Amir Khan. Kell Brook isn't going to make 147 again. That's why I say I wouldn't be shocked if he calls it quits. Now, there's other guys out there, there's the Ugases of the world, but those guys are fucking hungry. They're hungry for an opportunity, hungry for a scalp. And they're the wrong type of fights right now for Keith Thurman. Again, if Keith Thurman doesn't call it quits, Keith Thurman will 100% have one fight in 2020. One. So don't expect 2 fights. Definitely don't expect 3. I don't know if he's saying he's got an injury at the moment. I think he is. I think I saw a piece where he was at the gym with Tony Harrison talking about, and this was in the lead up to Harrison versus Charlo. Harrison used his gym. And I think he was mentioned that he's got a niggle here or niggle there. So I don't know. Unless he gets a big fight, he's not fighting. He just simply isn't fighting. And he's too small for 154 pounds, and there's not many big fights up there for him either. So I wouldn't be shocked, and I'm saying it here now, if he might not officially retire, but he might sit out 2020 completely and then call it quits in 2021 if he doesn't get a big fight. But that's it for Keith Thurman. What next? I have no idea. Peace.